Our next contestant, Diana Vansickle, nature or nurture? Nature or nurture, Diana Vansickle.
Grandma, Ann gave me her Ken doll, but he doesn't have any clothes. He can't go out with Barbie without any clothes. Oh, honey, we can fix that. Contest chair, fellow Toastmasters and friends. This is 4-year-old Diana. You just met me. I was given this Ken doll. He had not a stitch of clothing, but my grandmother let me pick out fabric from her basket scraps. Let me pick out the thread, this blue thread, brown pants and blue thread. That's a bold choice for a 4-year-old. And she made these pants for Ken. Now he could go out with Barbie. It's very important for a 4-year-old. I went every summer, spent a week with my grandmother and my grandfather on their farm in Oklahoma. I credit the fact that I am a dressmaker with that tiny start, that tiny seed that my grandmother put into me. I saw a flat pieces of fabric, a few small pieces of fabric become a pair of pants for Ken, and he could go out with Barbie. I am frankly quite obsessed with everything about garment sewing. The fabric, whether it's the beautiful sheen of a silk dupioni with the little slubs that the worms leave, or a stitch, such as a lovely, delicate French seam in a sheer organza top, or the style, the design. I look around the room. Everywhere you go, people wear different clothes that suit them. I notice when people come in, a woman came in today to this meeting, had a beautiful royal blue dress. I couldn't take my eyes off of her. I couldn't. It's lovely. I love sewing so much. I subscribe to a magazine called Vogue Patterns. Who does that? I do. In one of those magazines, in an issue, there was an article that talked about a scientific study by a neuroscientist named Dr. Adrian Chopin. He discovered that dressmakers have enhanced stereoscopic vision. Enhanced stereoscopic vision? What is that? Basically, dressmakers had a higher level of enhanced stereoscopic vision, which is the ability to take two-dimensional aspects and make them three-dimensional, such as a piece of roll of fabric, into clothing. I love making clothes for myself, but is it nurture? Dr. Adrian Chopin thought it might be nature, that they inherited this, that they naturally had this capability. Now, sewing comes quite naturally to me. I can see the shapes of fabric I need to make to fit a person's body. Not just because I've used lots of different patterns, but because I've done so many of those things. But it comes quite naturally to me. So maybe it's nature. Nature makes sense to me. I have blue eyes. That's from my mom. I am extremely absent-minded. Oh, that is from Dad, the stereotypical absent-minded professor. And I have creaky joints. And that, bless her, that's from my grandma, the Stinson side of the family, the seafaring Norwegians who ended up at the end of the early late 1800s, living in Oklahoma. So maybe I do come by it naturally, but there's nurture. When I was a young child, every week I would spend an afternoon with my Aunt Edith. I'm in 2nd grade. My Aunt Edith taught me how to embroider. She gave me needles, second grader, needles, scissors, and she helped me make a hot pad for my mom. My mom loved it. I took the only formal sewing training I had was my 8th grade sewing class section in my home ec class. My mom took me to get fabric, pick out my pattern, and buy my own tools. In that class, I made my first top for myself. I was hooked. And from that point on, my mom's sewing machine wasn't in her room, it was in my room. And then when I was a junior in high school, she gave that to me. So I was surrounded. I have lots of blood through for my grandmother, my aunt, and my mom. When I sew clothes, when I create an outfit, maybe it's a costume for a friend or a family member, and they get to go and experience a special time wearing that costume, pretending. It makes me feel good. I love giving people that. And when I sew and when I create in my sewing room, that time is a time, my mom is gone now. But when I sew, because that came from her, I get to be with mom, hearing her, getting excited about the stitches, being as excited about how they look and how it fits someone else. So is it nature? Is it nurture? Frankly, I just think it's both. There's nature and there's nurture in all of our lives. And each one of us needs to accept what nature and nurture has created and celebrate it and share it with the world. Thank you.